Some Dills. J-Dog back with another goddamn interview. Today we got the fucking guy that's been ducking the dog, fucking GB style. Lives fucking 10 minutes away from me. It's been getting me forever to get his ass on
ducking
here.
this motherfucker, man. He's been on me, dude. Like stink on shit.
Gotta get, can't even get him when he's at home. Gotta get him when he's on fucking tour.
Hanging out with my family and shit, man. You know, just living.
So it's goddamn Mike Hamilton. He's on currently on tour with Exhumed. Does with Deeds of Flesh.
Yep.
And how I first knew about you was from Vile.
Yep.
And the Stench of Deceased album.
Yep, that was the first record we did together. It was like a new band. It was me and Jimmy T. It was a high school friend. Jamming in Fairfield, and then met Juan Arteaga and Colin Davis in Concord through a mutual friend, and we kind of exhausted all the musicians in Fairfield that played any kind of metal. So we just moved on to the Bay Area, a little further in the Bay Area, and found the two other guys. Fucking Vile just kind of came together super fast, and fucking awesome band. It was fucking fun time.
Yeah, it's kind of an overlooked band now.
Yeah, I mean back then it was more of kind of like that time period was kind of definitely Florida death metal and worship kind of like style. But yeah, it's like, just had a pretty good run with that band. And then for me, it's like I met Deeds and they're looking for a drummer, and that's how I got into the Deeds fold.
Because I remember not liking the second album, Depopulate. Now I listened to that when it came out. I need to go back and listen to it because I've had a few people that know me like, oh, it's fucking good. So I've been meaning to go back and listen to it. I don't know if that's been reissued too, because Hammerheart Records did Stench of the Deceased on vinyl. Was it Hammerheart? Yeah, it was Hammerheart, right?
We initially put out Stench of the Deceased ourselves to hand out at Milwaukee Metal Fest '99. So it was self-funded, the first pressing, and then after that we had interest in signing with Relapse. And then after that, it kind of, when I quit the band, they kind of dissolved because they just didn't have a drummer and they didn't know the future of the band. So they're like, well, let's not commit to a Relapse record or a Relapse release until we can get a solid drummer. The second, Depopulate, I don't know how many people know this, but I actually helped Colin write 4 full songs and an intro to a 5th song. But because I quit, a little bit of bad blood there, he didn't really give me writer's credit, but they later released Stench of the Deceased with some bonus tracks, and it's for those 4 songs, me on drums during a rehearsal. So you could definitely tell that style of drumming is linked to the Stench of the Deceased style drumming. So,
how did you meet up with Deeds? Because that was the first time I met you. Again, I told you the story off camera. Again, I don't expect you to remember.
Yeah.
I think it was the Ohio Death Fest, but it was right around when Mark of Legion either just came out or wasn't even out yet. Because I remember asking Eric in person. I was like, "Are you guys gonna do a Path of the Weakening? Are you gonna do it on?" Because maybe I bought it and it was there. It was only on a jewel case. I was like, are you going to do a digipack and a picture disc?
Yeah.
He said, maybe a picture disc, but no digipack this time.
Yeah.
And I met you there. I was like, oh, shit, yeah, you're in Vile.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why'd you join Deeds? Like, well, I really like to play fast shit. And like, what better band to join than play blast than Deeds?
Totally. Yeah, no, we just, so Vile and Deeds did a small little 2-week run together.
Was that on one of the Bloodlettings?
No, this was way before Bloodletting.
Oh, okay,
yeah, this was like 98-ish. Vile had played in the Bay Area. A mutual friend, Steve Miller, from Extremities, and he did Extremities magazine and also Repulse USA. He kind of set the show up. So he got Vile, Deeds, I think it was Infamy, and another band I think called The Sick or something like that from the Bay Area. Set up a show in the Bay Area, and we played a show together, and we're like, holy shit, this band's killer. And they had the same feeling towards Vile, like, well, we should maybe book a small tour. I think Eric kind of booked that tour, and it was basically like a West Coast run all the way out to Texas. We played a big fest out in Texas, and I think Devourment was on it. I think Origin, Cephalic. So that's how we all came friends with all them. But yeah, it was from that tour, that stemmed from that tour, that we had that relationship with Deeds. And then later on, we did another tour with them, and this was like around the '98 era when Brad Palmer was in the band, and they weren't particularly getting along with him too well. And they asked me initially if I would be interested in just doing a tour to support the Path of the Weakening record, because Joey, the first drummer of the band, he went off to helicopter school, so he wasn't available to be a full-time drummer. Yeah, so he did the first EP gradually, then he did Trading Pieces. And then he came back after they let Brad go after inbreeding to record and write and record Path of the Weakening, which I think they did it in like 2 months. Fucking insane. Like wrote it, recorded it, 2 months. Then Joey's like, well, I got to go off to school now. And so that's when they're like really in need of a drummer. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in coming down to Los Osos learn some songs so we can support Path of the Weakening. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So told the guys in Vile, they were cool with it. I went down there, started jamming the music. I'm like, holy shit, this is like next level. You know what I mean? As far as like writing with these guys, and they're pro. They had a record label at the time. It was Unique Leader Entertainment. They just had their shit together. They had, they had a printing press. They had their own distro. And I was like, well, these guys are serious about it. Whereas like Vile was kind of, some of the guys were starting to show interest in, like Juan wanted to just do recording. So he didn't really want to go on the road too much. Colin was really the only one that was the diehard that really wanted to do it. But everybody else had, different interests, family and jobs and all that stuff. So I saw that project dissolving. And I was like, well, I'm learning these songs. I'm like, I'm fucking totally digging the material. These guys are super pro, and they're right in line with what I want to do as far as my drumming. And so it was a challenge, but I was like, I'm into it. And so from that point, I went down there 2 weekends in a row, and I got a bunch of songs down. And I'm like, I think I'm digging this, man. I think I want to move down here and join the band. You're like, that's up to you. So, and at that time, that was probably around like 99.
So right after Path came out.
Right after Path came out. Yeah, they had no drummer. They had tried out a few drummers, but didn't work out. But it was an easy transition for me because I just moved from the Bay Area down there. It's like a 4-hour drive. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how I joined the band. It just like started off as just like a tour, opportunity to tour with them and support Path of the Weakening. And then as I started laying the material, I just fell in love with everything they're doing as far as, their work ethic, the label, and just the fact that they're more of a professional touring band. And for me, that's like everything checked all the boxes. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So
now you're clearly definitely the longest lasting drummer of the band.
Yes.
But even while you've been in the band, there was how much of a gap hiatus to where the band wasn't really doing anything?
So when I joined, it's like late '99. I moved down there early 2000, like I think February 2000. And at that point, we're just like, let's go, let's tour as much as possible. So we did. In the meantime, like we've all worked at Unique Leader. We had a house, we had all the distro there.
You worked there too?
So I worked there with him. Yeah, we were doing packaging. I was printing shirts.
Yeah.
Doing all, mail fulfillment. And
around that time, who was like kind of like the top seller, you remember, or a couple of them?
Well, it was definitely like the first two albums that were on Unique Leader was Disgorge, She Lay Gutted, and then Path of the Weakening.
Yeah.
And so those are two of the biggest sellers. He started getting into like some European bands like Disavowed, Pyemia.
Yeah.
Those were some big sellers. Then Psychroptic. But back then we were getting bombarded because just having Deeds and Disgorge on the label, there was a lot of interest from bands like, I want to be associated with that label. Mm-hmm. And so we were just getting bombarded with demos, like how I'm sure you guys do as well. So we just started picking through it, and Eric, Jacoby, and I just had a certain sense of like taste in sports bands. Like if they're going to be on Unique Leader, they're going to be fucking, top-notch tech death or top-notch death metal bands. So Spawn of Possession was one, Disavowed,
Severed Savior was
Severed Savior, Disgorge, obviously. So the whole discography is just all brutal, sick bands, and that was just kind of like that's what they're wanting to do with the labels, just raise the bar and just like. Just have all killer bands on the label. So
now, who actually technically owned Deeds? I mean, Unique Leader was
it Eric? It was Eric and Jacoby.
They were partners.
So they went in partnership. They bought the label from Unique Leader. Started out as like basically a manufacturing company. They just were a broker for bands to get CDs and stuff like that printed.
Yeah.
And Eric and Jacoby worked for Unique Leader Entertainment. They had like a European investor or whatever. So they started. The investors started losing interest because, for whatever reason, it wasn't paying them back fast enough. However that dissolved. But Eric and Jacoby's like, well, shit, our band is on this label. It's in our best interest. Let's just put an offer and say, hey, let's buy this label from them. We'll control our own destiny by controlling the record label. So they bought it from one of the business partners that owned it. So they got it. They turned it from Unique Leader Entertainment to Unique Leader Records.
Okay.
And then that's when they just started building the bands. And so. As far as like you were saying, our touring history probably stemmed from 2000 to about 2008. That's when we toured the most. And then we keyed the Bloodletting tour. We came up with that, the whole Bloodletting 1. And then from that point on, it was just kind of like Unique Leader, like signature tour. So.
And was it Eric that pretty much wrote most of the lyrics, at least in the first song? Was it him and Jacoby?
We all actually wrote lyrics together. But in the beginning, I think it was a collaboration between both of them. I think Eric wrote probably most of the lyrics, but Jacoby, where he really like gelled, is like basically like helping with the structure of the songs.
Yeah.
Because Eric was one of those guys, just like if it was up to him, he would just write no repeaters. That's why Inbreeding is so crazy, because him and Brad just sat down and just wrote it, spitballed a shitload of riffs and just like kind of hardly repeated stuff. So that's the style that Eric would write, but Jacoby would be like, hey, let's try to fucking format the song to where it has some structure. Let's repeat some parts and let's make it a little more, audible and kind of more, more flowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because what I liked a lot about early Deeds lyrics, I remember specifically talking to Eric and this person as a kid, was a lot of it was like real topics, serial killers like that, like
totally.
3-minute crawl space,
Yeah.
Carnivorous Ways about Albert Fish.
Sure.
And my favorite is Born and Torn Apart. I remember specifically him asking about that because I think those are some of the sickest lyrics in general,
right?
Because it's like a real, I'm like, so what was that about? It's like, it's just some chick that fucking high on drugs and killed her own baby. So he just told me, like, I think he said he read it in a paper or something.
Yeah, they wrote about real life topics like true crime.
So yeah, my question about it is though, like, it seemed like kind of like Mark of the Legion changing awards like that, but especially after they really started changing lyrical shift. Was he just like burnt out? Like what?
No, I think it was just. I think the scene itself was just getting kind of burnt out. You know how many songs can you write about serial killers and fucking that whole the dark topic of the human psyche and shit like that. Like they wanted to kind of get away from that and just kind of go into something that was a little more storytelling based. And so with Path of the Weakling, it's basically about the Donner Party. Just darker stories like that. And then Mark of the Legion kind of was a shift because it was both Jacoby and Eric are from Swedish descent, and so they really wanted to kind of just touch on like a lot of like war type topics, just battles of ancient history and stuff like that through humanity. So we just did a deep dive into the history of wars, and just most of the songs are structured around that. We have a couple, towards the end of the record, I think there's one about Richard Kuklinski. He's like the Iceman. Yep. So about serial killers. So we still kind of dropped it in there, but we didn't want to just burn that subject out because a lot of bands at that time, it was all people were singing about. It was just so kind of we wanted to separate ourselves from just getting caught in that kind of like repeating the same kind of song lyrics and the subject matter. Yeah. So
what year did you realize that he was kind of like Eric was like sick? Like he was like you became aware.
To be honest, not really, because Eric's kind of a recluse. He wasn't a really like. I mean, I've known him the longest out of everybody. I was the closest with him, and he's just a very, secretive guy. Just kind of lived his life. Didn't really like volunteer too much information. He's like a very alpha male. The guy played hockey as a kid. The guy lifted weights. He was just, he looks like you. He's just a very physical dude. Just very headstrong. Very like just knows what the fuck he wants. And I didn't really know until I got a call from Matty Way. He's like, "Hey man, Eric, you know how Eric is, but he doesn't really say much about what's going on with stuff. But he's sick, and they don't know how long he's got." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" It's like it was just out of the blue. Like I'm just like, "Holy shit!" So what's going on with him?
Because he died of liver failure, right?
Yes. So
that's something like usually with liver, because it's regenerative. It's like well, I mean, was he just living like a really shitty lifestyle? Because like that's
I don't know.
Because usually when you get it, you have like loss of appetite. You're throwing up before it's like fatal. Like you would think that he would know, like gone to the doctor, like, hey, something's fucking up.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what year. I think it was kind of close to like 2000, maybe 18 or 2017. He decided he wanted to move to Florida because his wife is from Brazil. They have a daughter. And so the family from Brazil would come over to visit, but it became cost prohibitive for them to fly because they'd have to fly into the United States and then fly over to California. They found that if they lived in Florida, that the family could just do a direct flight from Brazil, and they could visit, their daughter and everything, and be closer to her side of the family. So when he moved to Florida, I maybe heard from him a couple times a year, like, hey, what's going on and how you doing and this and that and all. But he didn't really like stay too much in touch until, like I say, I got the call from Maddie. He's like, hey man, his health is pretty bad. And
how many times did you say you saw him in the last couple of years he was alive? But you didn't see him in the last
I didn't see him. I saw him when he moved from California. I actually helped him pack his truck. And
what year was that then?
I think it was like 2018, maybe 2017.
Was it? Didn't he die? What year did he die? Because I remember when I heard him, I'm like, whoa. I was like, how old was he? Was he like 46?
He was.
I remember I heard the day he died. I was like, really?
Yeah, he was like 46. Yeah. He was young. But it was just, I think he was. I don't know a lot about his health, to be honest. And if I said anything, it'd be
speculation.
It'd be speculation. So I don't really know. I just know that he didn't communicate much with friends and family about what was going on with him health-wise. Yeah. I just know that when it was his time to like do something about it proactively, his wife had begged him for weeks to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, he had like swelling in his legs, and he was losing weight.
Okay.
And he had like a yellow kind of tint to his skin, which was jaundice. Yeah. And so, as men, we're fucking hard headed.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, the one thing I got out of that whole situation was like, you know, if your body, you should know your body. If your body's telling you something, take care of yourself. Listen to your wife, listen to your body, go to the fucking doctor and get checked out. And I think being such a headstrong individual that he was, I think he just got to the point where he just let it go too far. And when he went to the hospital, they're like, it's like, you're high risk for a donor, as a donor. So like they had him in ICU. He lost a shit ton of weight. And, you know, with respect to the family and everything, he kind of just withered away. Kind of sucks, you know. A guy of his stature, of his strength, he just allowed his stubbornness to kind of like work against him in that situation, which sucks, you know.
Now, then when he passed, because Jacoby being the only original member, was he like, just deeds is done, or did he say, yeah?
So we went.
Like,
so
initially?
so we get the call that they're going to have services for him, and so we're like, okay, well, we got to go. So me, Jacoby, and Steve Miller, a close personal friend for Repulse USA and Extremities, we decided like we're going to go out and go to the funeral. So it was a small funeral. We went out there, and Jamie Graham, which was a partner with him from the UK with Unique Leader, and Maddie Way was there. His wife was there. His family was there. And just the three of us, very intimate. It was just like this. It felt weird and felt rushed. It's like it felt surreal. Like I can't believe we're actually at Eric's funeral right now. This is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So we're there. We go through the funeral services. You know, we go to the cemetery, put him in the ground, and then we go back, you know, for the wake back to the house. And so that's when we started talking with Jamie and Jamie's, you know, and all those, all the family and everybody, and we just kind of like sat and just kind of celebrated Eric, and then kind of try to piece everything together and see what happened. And that's where we got our information from, as the family. And so we realized, Jamie's like, yeah, well, you know, there's a full record that's done with no lyrics and no vocals. And so at that point, me and Jacoby sat down with Jamie and said, well, we're going to finish this record. And this was, you know, pre-pandemic. And so we're all busy. I'm busy with Exhumed. Jacoby was busy with family. We talked about it on the way home. We're like, okay, we have to sit down with this record and we have to finish it for Eric. And so a year goes by and we, you know, didn't really do it because we're so busy. Pandemic hits, and me and I called Jacoby like, hey, this is the time to strike right now. So I went back to Portals to Canaan and Of What's to Come. And Eric wrote all those lyrics. That was when he started really getting into like sci-fi, the sci-fi stuff. And so I just kind of basically got into his brain by reading those lyrics and wrote down, you know, a continuation of that storyline using some of the, you know, the phrases and, you know, catchphrases that he did and some of the storyline. And me and Jacoby just went back and forth and bounced ideas together and wrote the lyrics. And then Jacoby came out of retirement, you know, after 10 years.
Yeah.
And sang over, you know, did the vocals and killed it. Did an excellent job. And for us, it's like, it didn't feel right just having, I mean, Jacoby being the original member, it's like we wanted to kind of like, this album didn't feel right not having Eric on it. It felt more like a tribute album. So that's when the idea spawned, like, let's just get some other artists that Eric looked up to, like Corpse Grinder and Luke LeMay, and let's get some other vocalists that are, you know, very important to Unique Leader family, you know, that had an album on Unique Leader, and invite them to do like a guest spot. So it's kind of a celebration of Eric's last work.
Yeah.
And it was so easy. Everybody immediately said yes. And it just fucking came together super easy, and just like, so that's how that whole, you know, story ended, you know, just by us putting that album out for him. And we did a small memorial for him in Los Osos at the local bar that we all hung out at. It was like literally blocks from where we all lived. And so, you know, but yeah, it was just a weird time. And it's like, dust clears and we're just like, it's fucking weird. Eric's gone. This is
do you think Deej is going to do any more albums then?
You know, there was talk of that. Ivan, the now guitar player, and Craig, guitar player, they had been collaborating with Eric, writing stuff. They have stuff that's written on a laptop that they have been, you know, writing songs with Eric. I don't know. The future will hold. Will tell us if it. But there's talk of us doing something with, you know, that material. But there's also talk of, like, you know, if we want to do something, we want to try to embody like the earlier stuff. You know, kind of get away from like the tech stuff and kind of go back to the roots. Like, you know, the two albums that I feel that really define Deeds is like Trading Pieces and Path of the Weakening.
Oh, so you don't mind admitting that, even though you're not on them?
I don't mind. No.
So I was going to kind of ask you about that. For example, like the Exhumed tonight, how you're playing like first three.
Yeah.
So does that bother you? Like, oh, we're playing songs that I'm not on.
Not at all.
And
No, because I was a fan of the band before I even joined.
so you liked albums like gore metal shit way before.
Oh yeah, like I would the Vile days, like Vile and Exhumed would play shows together. And
Well, let me ask you this then, because since you weren't in the band on those albums, because I love it. I love how the sound is.
Yeah.
Obviously recorded, but bands are their own worst critic. Obviously, they re-recorded gore metal. I do like the re-recording. I have a double disc.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the original when it came out.
Yeah.
'99 or whatever. So that's what I prefer.
Nothing ever has the same impact as the original recording.
So you, as a fan, when you heard it way before you were in the band,
yeah,
did you think personally there was anything wrong with the sound? You're like, I like how it sounds.
Are you talking about gore metal specifically?
Yeah, specifically.
I don't.
Or did you like, it kind of sounds like shit? Did you think that? Or?
I never thought that because I always take every album for what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't look at something and say, it isn't this. I look at it and say, this is what it is. As a listener, it's like, yeah, is everything super audible? No. But I mean, we were kids. We're trying to record death metal. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. Some of these studios are like, I'll do the best I can. I'll do the best I can to capture what you guys are doing, but I don't understand what you're doing.
It sounds like noise.
Unless you go to someone, if you have the money to go to someone like More Sound, where they know how to capture death metal.
What do you think of the people that say that? Because there's a lot of people, Dawn of the Deads and shit. They think More Sound sounds like ass. What do you say to that?
I think it just depends on the listener. You know what I mean? It's like art. It's subjective. It's like you listen to something, it either speaks to you or it doesn't. It's like a painting. You look at it, either it speaks to you or it doesn't. And in a world of critics, let's just say you like it or you don't. Instead of saying it isn't this, and I don't like it because it isn't this. It's like the same with going to a movie. Like you don't go to a movie and expect it to play the plot to be exactly what you want it to be. It's like that's the movie, that's the product. Yeah. You like it or you don't.
Well, what is your take too? Because it's you're one of the very few old guys where I can enjoy a
easy.
Well, you're 50.
I'm 52.
Right.
I'm not dead yet.
Well, what I'm saying is that age couple. The only other guy, there's a couple others, but I just interviewed recently to Dave Rotten from the Falls.
Yeah.
I think he says he's 54, whatever, something in his 50s.
Yeah.
And he likes all the brutal stuff and shit like that.
Yeah.
Most guys your age that I'm friends with or know, they don't. They like maybe some stuff from the 90s, but usually the Possessed, the Death.
Sure.
So, and you're one of the few guys that likes the brutal shit as well as the old stuff, being that age. So it's pretty rare. Yeah. So that's cool. What is your take on because obviously you use triggers and shit like that.
Yeah.
Where guys hate triggers. Like I remember, rest in peace, Jim Sadis, guy from Nunslaughter. It's like, dude, Terrorizer had no fucking world downfall. He didn't hate triggers.
Sure.
What do you like the sound of triggers? Do you think they can be overdone? Do you think it can be shit? Do you think they have a good sound for it? Do you think it's cool if someone tries to do blasts without it? What is your stance on it?
I think it just depends on what the band is trying to capture. I think triggers can be used. For me, I didn't play triggers for quite some time. As soon as I was introduced to triggers, for me as a drummer, it made me a tighter player because when you hit that drum and set that trigger off, it doesn't lie. You're either in time, you're out of time. So I see it as a tool to help drummers, one, play tighter, two, also capture all those notes, because if you're playing in an acoustic kit, the old school guys will say, just fucking hit super hard. You're not going to be able to play double bass for an entire fucking set and capture all those notes and have the energy to fucking
But I think with guys
to do that at that tempo and at that attack.
What do you think of the sound of them? Because some guys will say how it's got that clicking typewriter sound, as opposed to you listen to a Reputrefaction, it's got that thud. What is your? So they're they sound like shit.
What is my preference, or what?
I guess what do you take when people say they sound like shit?
I mean, it just depends on the musician. If that's what they're trying to capture, that it is what it is. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm just the production. If it's a good production, yeah, of course, and it makes sense. But if it's just super clicky and dominating the entire mix, then that's on the mix. But I mean, it's triggers themselves. I think it's just a tool for drummers to help play tighter and also to capture all those notes playing fast tempos. And I don't love it or hate it. I just see it as a tool.
How do you try to do it then? So for example, on taking over after Exhumed, Cole Jones, he seemed to have kind of a unique style.
Yeah.
It was kind of a thrashy Repulsion /
sure.
a little bit more raw, a little bit more crude, I guess.
Yeah.
As opposed you're way more precise and professional, I'd say, I guess.
Yeah.
When you play those songs, do you try to play a little looser like he did, or you just try to make it your own?
I play tight. I make it my own, but I also, so like you were saying, the re-recording of gore metal, I listened to it probably for like almost a month before I decided.
And was there parts where he's drumming, you're like, what the fuck's he doing? Like,
No, I mean, well, that's the beautiful thing about the old recordings is like it made you do your due diligence. You had to sit there and study the music, and even though the production wasn't the best quality production, it actually helps you as a musician to hone your your listening skills in on what's actually happening. Not a lot of productions are able to do that, but for the most part, it kind of helps your ear kind of tune into what you're trying to hear. So listening to those records, I just try to just do the best interpretation of. I wanted to do the record proud by doing pretty close to what Cole did, but also add some of my ideas because being that I'm the new drummer of the band, I'm not changing the song entirely. I'm not like blasting over parts that are like, Slayer beats, but I wanted to just stay true to the material, but just enhance it with my style. I think I captured that. I don't think I overplayed. I think I did, pretty okay, but I mean, that's one of those things that Matt really wanted to re-record that record because he never was happy with it, but I mean, it's one of those records you can't re-record. You know what I mean? It's just because it stands the test of time, even though the production back then wasn't ideal or the best that it could have been. It is what it is, and it's just like you take it for what it is. And
is it becoming, as you get up there in age, is it harder for you to keep up?
You keep bringing that up, man. I mean,
well, because
they're trying to. I mean, I know there's a coffin right here. You're trying to put me in the ground already.
Because I've talked about on my channel.
No,
for example, guys like Steve Ashim and shit.
Yeah.
Blast them. There's not too many guys over 50 and stuff. Granted, it's because when most bands started, they were kids.
Yeah.
There's not too many guys around your age that are playing extreme music blasting.
Yeah.
Having said that, is it harder now than it was 20 years ago, or it's easier than ever? Like, it's actually better.
I mean, there's as you age, obviously as a drummer, there's things that become a little more challenging because, when you're younger, like it's almost kind of like you kind of look at yourself as like an athlete, really.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself, you eat well, if your form is good, you'll have longevity. You won't have like arthritis or the way you set your drums up is very important.
You have no arthritis right now?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Can you hear my knee? You can hear that thing aching right now?
I hope not over the commotion. That's pretty bad if I can hear it.
No, but I mean, I think it's just good practices. You know what I mean? It's like setting your drum set up to where you're not, pinching your shoulders or, doing too much to manipulate your body where it doesn't feel comfortable. You just, as a drummer, you sit down and whatever's comfortable, everything's right within this area. That's kind of where I keep everything. The longevity for me in my drumming is just staying consistent, and I don't party a lot. I don't drink a ton. I don't abuse anything. I'm just like, I drink some beers here and there, hang out, whatever, but I don't like overindulge in things.
Yeah.
And I try to take care of myself, and I try to work out a little bit here and there, not as much as I did when I was younger, but I worked out a lot when I was younger. I rode bike a lot, do a lot of cardiovascular.
That's probably why you look like you're 40, dude.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of that. And it's just, taking care of yourself and just also having healthy practices and treating yourself like an athlete and doing the right things for your body to have longevity in drumming,
So having said that,
it's like you with lifting weights, you know? You're not going in there and doing a bunch of jerking shit around.
No,
like,
fucked up.
You know,
I'm more fucked up than I am.
Yeah, well, like form is key.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
And treating,
full range of motion with good form.
Yeah,
good tempo,
form.
100%.
It's the same concept, in weightlifting as it is in drumming.
Yeah.
It's just drumming is just, it's a physical, thing. It's like you're constantly like moving. And joint care is proper as well, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you get older, your body tends to like. You get the aches and you get the pains, but you just got to know how to balance that and know how to back off on. I don't hit as hard because it's more impact on the joints
Your
and
wrist
everything. Here and there you get some aches and pains, but that just comes with age.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, I go up there and I'm not at a point where I'm like, if I get to a point where I can't do the band justice that I'm in, if I'm hurt, doing more harm than good, I'm like, it's time to step up. But I mean. Like I say, I rehearse a lot, I play my drums a lot, and I take care of myself, and that's the key to having longevity and playing in death metal.
So last one I'll make for you then is you thought we were gonna have nothing to talk about. Should we go for a whole hour? I'll keep it. Oh.
No, I just like dodging you.
Yeah.
I like seeing you squirm.
Just like Glenn Benton, dude. Made me wait 3 hours.
No, that's
what I did.
Do you need a hug, J-Dog? Come on, man.
He said he's doing full terror, so we'll see. Last one, because I would respect your opinion more than most on this topic.
Okay.
Outside of bands like people say Rush, or let's not even go Slayer, like let's go just extreme music only. Death metal, black metal, grindcore.
Okay.
Who would you say, just whoever, top of your head, 3 of them, what you think are some of the best drummers ever? Like, you're like, holy shit, this guy's impressive. Like, I'm impressed.
Like time period wise, or today, or just all
together, yeah. Like when you're thinking like the Pete Sandoval's, the Steve Asheem,
sure,
the Paul Mazurkowitz, like whoever, you know what I mean, whoever.
I say the 3 drummers that had the most influence on me would be Tom Hunting from Exodus, Pete Sandoval, Morbid Angel, Terrorizer, and then Dave Lombardo, Slayer.
Everybody says, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because back then it's like those were drummers that were kind of like, they were at the the forefront of the metal movement, and they were figuring it out as they go, and they're creating the genre. You know what I mean? Which is, now it's like they're the blueprint for drumming.
Yeah.
Alex Marquez, overlooked from Malevolent Creation because he brought that Latin flair and that groove bass.
It's funny, every once in a while people throw his name on the channel, but I just think Malevolent Creation was an extremely overlooked band in general, compared to the the Deicide's Cannibal. So
sure.
I was like, they never pulled this word back shit. Consistently putting out albums. They got 15 albums or something like that. Yeah. All the albums are solid. I like some more than others. And
then Steve Asheem, like everybody got to give him credit because he's the guy that he's got killer flavor, but he's just a machine, dude. The guy never stops playing double bass. He never stops grinding. Like Did
you listen to New Deicide?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so do I.
I like it. I mean, it's like that band to be around this long and playing at that tempo still at their age is fucking awesome. I think.
Let me throw a name out there. What's your take on him? He's, I wouldn't say modern, but more, but today's time and 90s. What do you think of Max from Christian?
I like him. Yeah, he has a different style. That's for me as a drummer, it's like watching him. He's just consistently fast all the time. He's constantly rolling around the kit. Like, the guy never stops. He's a machine for sure. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like so there's a lot of drummers that will be like, oh, his feet aren't matching his hands, or his hands aren't matching his feet. I'm just like, I don't listen to that. I just listen to how much he's playing with power and how much conviction and like his ideas overall with the songwriting that he's doing with the band. And I love Chris and they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Great guys, and and that he's just a beast.
Yeah.
You watch him play.
Oh, extremely
he fucking
impressive.
Hits hard as fuck, and he's playing fast as shit.
Yeah, especially if you're up close and you can see them play like that. I've never heard anyone not be impressed.
I'm not a guy that will just say, I don't talk shit about other people because I know how much work it takes to get to that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, for me, it's like, it's either I listen to it or I don't.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with anything other than it just doesn't appeal to me, or it does.
Yeah. Sure.
But I mean, everybody's out there kicking ass, man, in their own way, and they're all part of this, one cog in the big wheel of death metal, and it's like they're all helping this scene survive. And I just like, they're, when I ain't doing this anymore, just pass the torch to them, and they'll fucking keep going with it, and the younger kids will just keep doing it too, So, but for us, I will say this: we're the generation that had to go to the shows, fucking rush to the front of the stage, fucking get your spot on the front, and watch your dude, and be like, okay, Pete Sandoval, go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Watch the whole show, and that would inspire you for like 2 weeks.
What's the first time you saw Slayer live?
It wasn't until late. I didn't really see them till late, but it was probably South of Heaven tour.
Okay, so that's like 90, right?
89,
yeah.
South
of Heaven was 89?
Yeah. So somewhere around. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not good with dates.
Yeah. I think it's 89.
But I was kind of late. I didn't go to shows till I was like 17. When I got my car, I was like, all right, pack a bunch of friends in, we'll go. So luckily we grew up in the Bay Area, and all the shows went through San Francisco or Oakland.
Yeah.
So I got to see all the bands, in their heyday come through. Death and Devastation and Obituary and all of them when they were releasing their albums, which I'm very fortunate to live in that time, to be able to see all those shows. And Harv did too. He was a little younger than me, but he went to all those same shows.
Yeah.
He'll tell you all about it. But yeah, man, I just I love metal. I'll do it until I can't do it anymore, and I'm proud to be part of this scene and have my name and my stamp on, the music that I helped create with some fucking awesome human beings. And
cool.
I'm here, and
Corpse Grinder told me on camera he's got 15 years left in him. So as far as I'm concerned, if that neck can hold up for 15 years, those knees can hold up for 15. You guys are roughly the same age.
Yeah,
probably are the same age.
I'm 52, and
he's got to be. He's in that area.
Yeah.
He's in his 50s for sure.
Yeah. So just a couple ibuprofen make the day go by a little easier.
Oh, yeah. So is anything you want to fucking promote? Say, shout out. Give you last words.
Yeah, man. Just we're doing the anniversary of Gore Metal, and Anatomy is Destiny, and also Slaughter Coat. So everything is out. We put a split together with you.
Yep.
The Himdell, that was a super impactful fucking demo for me, as well as I'm sure a ton
Oh,
of
she got
people.
that back in the day too.
Back in the day, I was just like, holy shit! I was just looking at the speakers, like, what the fuck am I hearing right now? So it's cool that that's out again.
Yeah.
And come check out an Exhumed show, and we're playing the old crusty fucking, songs.
The classics.
Yep, the classics. So.
Yep. Hell yeah. And this guy thought we had nothing to talk
Yep.
about.
I want to thank everybody for supporting me and Deeds and Vile and Exhumed and everything I do in drumming. And thank you, J-Dog. Appreciate you.
There you have it. Later, goddammit.